Friday. And I want to go over today is kind of kick it back to an old school type of view and talk about some good business practices that actually are just great life practices that will take you way further, way farther, and it'll make you stand out, right? And a lot of these things seem so easy, right, and commonplace, but they're not common anymore, okay? And the people that do it stand out, do a really good job, and this works if you're running a company or you're an entrepreneur, right? And so just these practices, right? First off, operate with integrity, okay? We're living in a day and age that we are very connected and not connected at all, okay?
Mm.
And your reputation is everything. Okay. So following through and actually doing what you say you're going to do is a massive, massive deal because a lot of companies don't. All right. A lot of people don't. I'd say next, you know, over deliver. Okay. This is such a big, big thing. Like people will look at what they pay, but they always compare it to what they get. Right. So if you are charging higher prices, all right, you have to deliver much higher value. And that value has to be higher proportionally to what you're charging. Okay. Like if all your competitors are at 10,000 and you're charging 20, there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to be delivering value of, let's say, 25 or 30,000. All right. That is how you're going to get word of mouth. That is how you're going to uh, bring in more clients. That's how you're going to get positive reviews. All right. These are all massive, massive, massive things. Telling the truth, having difficult conversations with clients. All right. People respect that. Okay. Another thing, showing up on time. Like that is not, dude, I know it's crazy to even say that and say that's a big win, but the bar is so low right now.
Mhm.
Okay. That just having old school principles, like looking presentable, showing up on time, having the right type of energy. All right. All selling is a transference of energy. And whether you are an entrepreneur or you are, an individual working for one, okay, your energy matters. How you show up matters. What time you show up matters. Like I remember hearing, hey, if you're not early, you're late, or and if you're early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're late, right? That is something that has been like lost, and it's really not hard. Like if you start the day at 9 o'clock, it's not hard to get there at 8:50, right? You get there, you get ready, you get your day set up, and you just start going at it, right? These are the things that these little habits that you can do, and they are the easiest things to do, guys. When you do it, they compound. People notice, your clients notice, your team notices. Okay, and they're easy. Dave, what are your thoughts on some of these?
Yeah, man. I mean, spot on. And it's sad a lot of times that you and I take it for granted, right? Like that's our generation that we grew up in. And I'll give you a perfect example. I was at an event last night, a Spanish realtor event here locally, and you can tell. You want to go back to culture, who's part in our age bracket as opposed to this newer phase coming up. And guys, like, we'll talk about basics because even there's people, let's be real, there's people in our generation who've gotten away from some of this stuff too. But you know, simple stuff. Look somebody in the eye, like make eye contact, right? Like I'm talking a lot of the stuff face to face, just my experience last night. So, look somebody in the eye, give a firm handshake, introduce yourself. Don't be awkward. Like it's
Yeah,
not.
and,
You-
and, and you know what? I'm so glad you said the handshake thing. There's
Mhm,
a difference between a firm handshake,
mhm.
right, and then you trying to go over the top and prove a point.
Yes.
Because the guys that try to go a little too hard at that, okay, and nobody likes the fishy, like the wet noodle fucking handshake, okay, especially with no eye contact.
Right.
However, if you're one of those people that think you're gonna just like manhandle somebody, if you do it to the wrong person, you're gonna get punched in the face. And I say that because I almost did it to somebody. I almost punched somebody in the face yesterday.
Man.
You know,
And
my buddy had an intern at his place, and I don't know if this kid was trying to prove something or just, just awkward. And so I definitely gave him a little bit of grace, but man, like he went in there like he was a fucking crab, and I'm like, dude, I'm not like I'm a pretty strong dude. So if I'm saying that, it was over the top, and whatever. But listen, I would still prefer that over the.
Yeah, of course. Check the ego, man. I think, my problem is that, I typically wear, when I dress nice, like my shirt's tight, you know what I mean? And not tight, like in style. Like I'm a big guy. Like I'm not small. I'm fucking 215 pounds. Right. So, some people may think that's small, it's subjective, but like, if you try to pull me or grip me, I'm going to pull you back in. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to get like, I'm going to win. Like you're not getting out of that. The grip's there and the pull's there. So don't do that. You know what I mean? Chill out.
Yeah.
But no, but introduce yourself, make eye contact. And the most important thing, actually, I learned this from Ed. Serve with intent and expect nothing in return. He is one of the best lines ever. And I always end a conversation with this because I always feel, and it's biblical too, man, be a servant leader, right? Hey, what can I do for you? Who do I know that you know, right? Like I always reciprocate that first. And it's like, oh, this guy's trying to, this guy wants to help me. I always lead with helping because not many people even do what I do. In the rooms that I'm in, people either need my help or they have people that need my help, right? So I always lead with that, like lead with service, and expect nothing with return. I had a lady I was talking to yesterday. She reluctantly scheduled. I talked to her 3 times already. Now, granted, she's put me in different X's and O's in different rooms. And she called me and she said, hey, I just have a quick question and I wanted to ask you and I didn't want to take too much time. I said, okay, so what's going on? Well, I just want to get this out of the way. Are you going to bill me for this? And I'm like, what's your question? Can I do this, X, and this, and then have this collection here and this or that? I said, no, navigate it like this. I said, you want to get back in real quick? I said, why are you dancing around this? She's like, oh, well, every time somebody like consultation, this or that, and last time somebody billed me $400 and what they told me like didn't work. And I said, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but like, let me tell you this. The question you asked me, this took what, 5 minutes? And you called me at a good time. You scheduled it at a good time because now I have even more time. I was shooting content, so it was perfect timing. So I said, look, I have more time to get whatever I'm done. And I said, at the end of the day, the question you asked me, I know you would have found the answer. You probably would have Googled it somewhere anyway. Yeah. And then probably text me and ask me. So like, yeah, like I didn't feel that was justified, but it's just doing the right things, man. Doing the right things 100% of the time.
Hold on. I will say though, because this happened, there is a caveat to that. If you say you're going to do something, you do something, right? Yeah, and also, if you are in a bind and you reach out to somebody late at night, they take their time out of their day at, let's say 8:30 at night.
Yeah.
And, wow. and then you don't go through and that person does not get anything and he rearranged a lot of things to work at it for you. Yeah. And I'm saying this, dude, because I had somebody panic Wednesday night. They needed a certain amount of money to make payroll. And then this guy's fucking checking the mailbox and decides not to take it. And what he doesn't realize is he's going to like, if there's if any negative transactions occur between now and let's say Monday or Tuesday, he's not going to get that money when he comes back. Yeah. And I'm sure shit not going to go and find somebody else because of how he handled himself.
Right.
So there are things there. I'll tell you this. I have another client that I'm friends with. Okay. This guy has in no uncertain terms, I want to say about 3 times, 4 times, 5 times reached out. We got to the point where we signed an agreement on a very large line for him. And then they back out after everything is done. Okay. I can assure you, I will never, ever, ever. Okay. If that doesn't go through and they don't do a 180, never even pick up the phone. Okay. So like how you, but again, that goes back to the earlier principles that we discussed. You have access to people as long as you maintain certain habits, right? As long as you follow through on what you say you're going to do. And after you have proven that that is not the case, you lose access.
100%. I was going to say to that, like in the middle of there, like, yeah, what are you going to do in the future? Right. I know what you're not going to do. You're not going to answer the call. And it's always people, I know we're getting a little sideways here, but it's always people that are close in proximity to you. Right. Like it's, all right, well, I'm cool. You know what I mean? Like I could take a little bit of advantage of this. Oh, he's not giving me I have somebody, he's probably watching this anyway, but somebody like I've been over backwards for the last 3 years, right? To like help them get in a way better position. And now all of a sudden it's like, you want something from me, the cost allegedly is a little too high. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to play tit for tat, but look at 3 years ago until today. And a lot of that was out of the kindness of my heart too. Maybe shame on me, but whatever. But now you give an inch, take a mile, man. That's what it comes down to, brother. But I think, and guys, this isn't minute. This is a big deal to me because this tells me everything I need to know. First of all, hold the door open for somebody. And second of all, if somebody holds the door open for you, say thank you, man. Say thank you. I'm that guy where if you don't, I will look at you and at the top and pretty loudly and abruptly. Yeah. You're welcome.
Manners go a long way, but look, we're gonna wrap up here. Sports, you could take it deep. I don't even know who that was to, but that's completely off base. No. So, guys,
gotta love it.
Take it easy, crush it. Sports, eat a dick. Take care, guys.
Great, Joel.